welcome back to our discussion of the Swift programming language and learning Swift. Today is lesson number 3, and we'll talk about control types, or collection types, and control flow. So I'm going to go to our lesson page here and click on the slides. And the agenda today will be review the learning objectives, talk about collection types, and then we'll work with, we'll do an exercise with arrays and dictionaries, take a break, then work on control flow and talk about that, and then do an exercise and wrap up. Okay, so what are the learning objectives? Well, today, by the end of class, I'm hoping that everybody will be able to create arrays to store data, like collections of data, create dictionaries to store collections of data, differentiate between the different kinds of loops in Swift, and apply optionals in creating different collection types, okay? And hopefully you'll be able to also differentiate between arrays and dictionaries to say what the difference is. Okay, so what's an array? So an array is probably one of the most common collection types in any programming language. Swift uses arrays. Swift has a couple things that are unique to the way it works with arrays, and we'll talk about that as we go through the course. But essentially, an array is a list of things, and you make lists in your life. Your software does the same thing. In Swift, arrays must hold the same type. So everything in an array, if your array is type int, all the members are int. If your array is type string, all the members are a string. Okay, so an array is an ordered collection type. So every element in the array, imagine the colored boxes here are the elements that we have in an array, and it's an array of strings. And every member in the array has an index, and so the number down below is the index. The first index is 0, the second item is number 1, and the third item is number 2. And that's how we access and order the things in the array. Okay, we look at the index. To create an array in Swift, you use the square brackets. That's very similar to how we create arrays in other languages. This would be an array of type string, and you would write the type in this way, square bracket with the type inside. This is implicitly typed because we created an array with strings in it, so Swift knows that the type is string, but we could have put colon bracket string after concentrations, okay? And that we could have been explicitly typed. Okay, if you want to create an empty array, you have to say what the type is. So, for example, if I say if I say, concentrations colon string with brackets, then that's saying that, concentrations is an array of type string, and this would make it an empty string. So there's no strings in it now, but we could add strings to it in the future. And if we added an int or a double, it would give us an error. You could also alternatively create the new empty array like this, where you say type string or array type string, and then follow it with the parentheses, and that creates a new empty array. So essentially these two lines are doing exactly the same thing. Okay, appending an element. So now that you've got an array, you might want to add an element to the end of your array. So you can use append for that. So append adds something to the end of the array. So if there's 2 items in the array, the new item that you append would be the third item in the array, or index 2, right? The first one would be index 0. You can use .append, or you can do plus equals. So you can do, array plus equals, and then include your new item. Concentrations, right? So concentrations, we can also do insert and then element at, and then say the index. Using this one, you can specify which index you're going to insert at. So if you wanted to put something at a specific index, then you could specify, right? You could specify the number. Removing elements. So you can remove the last element with remove last, and you can remove an element at an index, and you just include at and the index. Update an element. So here, actually this also includes accessing the element. So if I have concentrations bracket 0, we're talking about the first item in the concentrations array. and this would be the new value for that item. So the old item would be replaced with this. So whatever was at index 0 would now become this element or this string. If you want to swap elements, you can use the swap method, and you can include the index from and then to. So this would swap the elements at index 1 and 2. Sorting, you can say array.sort, and you can say sorted. Oh, I guess that's all for the array methods. Actually, we'll get into this one later, because sort actually includes a lot of extra information that, so you can determine like how things are sorted. Okay, so now let's try the practice problems. And actually, sort isn't in the practice problems too, so we don't need to worry about that one. So here's the practice problems. Here you can control click on that and go to the tab here, and you can get the practice problems. So here the practice problems are written as text, right? And so what we'd like to do is make a new playground and then solve the problems with the playground, okay? So you can create a new playground by opening up Xcode and then going to the File menu and choosing New Playground. So in New Playground, they have a couple different playgrounds that you can choose from. We're just going to choose the blank one. That's the simplest one. So just take that one, click Next. You can create your playground. Let's call it Collections Playground. Oops, I got a space in there. And I'll put this on the desktop. And now you can start solving the problems in here. We'll do the first one together maybe, right? So there's our first one. It says, hey, define an array called suitcase. It should store strings. Imagine you're going on a trip and you want to include those things. And then it says, use append method to add the methods you're going to take on your trip. So what we would do here is, maybe I can get rid of this first line there. I can say, let's create var suitcase equals to a new array, but I need to type the array as string. So there's a couple ways to do it. I'm going to do it this way. Okay, so I set the type as string, and then I'll want to append things to my suitcase. So I'll say suitcase.append, and then I can include the new element, right? It must be a string. So we'll put the quotes there and we'll say toothpaste, right? And then you could continue from there and add more items. And if you want to print out the array, you can say print suitcase. Let me move the bottom up here and then reveal the console and run my code. Yeah, there's my array with toothpaste in it, right? And if I just want to get the element out of the array, we can say suitcase bracket and then ask for the item at index 0. And this gives me the string toothpaste, right? So you'll continue with the problems here, try and solve all these, okay? So thanks for watching, and then we'll continue in the next video.